This video is just a basic explanation of how I go about and how I've gone about renewing the door skin on this 1960 MGA. The actual door skin itself, I've done an awful lot of work to try and get the dents out of it. Unfortunately, there is so much stretched metal that it's impossible to lose it, and I've had to bite the bullet and I've bought a new door skin. Now, what I've actually done to remove the skin, there's two ways of removing the skin. One is using an angle grinder and just cutting the edge off all the way around the existing door, and the skin will then just lift off. Now, because the door gaps and everything is so critical on this, when I removed this door skin, what I've actually done is I took the time to fold back the lip all the way around the entire skin. That enabled me to take it off. That will also enable me to keep the measurements of the existing skin, which I know fits the door aperture perfectly. The skin is now off, and I can put that to one side, out the way, and the frame is in here. It's only resting in here. You don't reskin a door with a door frame in a car, you do it on a bench. But just for practical purposes and showing you where I've put it, there it is. And the next part of this video, I'll go on to explain how I'm going to offer up the new skin and fit it to the frame. We've now removed the old door skin, and what I've done with the actual frame is I've cleaned it all up with a wire brush to remove any surface rust, and I've treated it with a chemical rust remover to make sure there's no problems anywhere in any of the areas that I cannot reach once the skin's put back on. The frame is all pretty good. There's no real rust anywhere in it whatsoever. It's just the fact that the previous skin was so dented and the metal was so stretched that it was almost impossible to lose that metal. So the only alternative was to buy a new skin, which I've now done. I've offered the door back into the frame here again, just to show you where it does actually go, and I'll just lift it out and show you that obviously inside is all good condition. I have dressed all the edges to make sure they're all good as well and all flat. The reinforcing bars that you see that run from left to right, where previously it had been impacted in the side, these were bent inwards, and with the skin in position it was impossible to bend them back into the straight position they should be. So they've now all been straightened. The frame has been rubbed down back to bare metal, treated with a rust preserve or rust killer, and it's now waiting for the new skin to be offered up and, well, hopefully fit into the door aperture. Okay, the moment the truth has arrived. I've now cleaned up the frame, as I saw earlier, given it a coat of primer, and I'm about now to offer up the new skin to the door itself. I've taken initial measurements against the old skin, and everything seems to be spot on. And we'll see how it goes. The first thing, of course, is make sure that when you lay the skin down, put it on something that isn't going to mark it. In this particular case, I've got some thick cardboard which I'm using, perfectly flat, because the last thing I want to do is put a dent in anything. The skin itself just lays flat. As you can see, there's a recess, a 90-degree folded edge over here, and the frame should fit perfectly well inside that. So far so good. Now I've looked at various YouTube videos. There's various ways of doing this. That of course is with a steel shell. This one being aluminium, so much softer, so much easier to actually damage. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start on the bottom because that's the most crucial measurement. If I put the skin on too low, it's going to foul the door seal, which of course I've only just welded all into position. So I'm going to put the frame right down on the bottom edge, and I will fold that edge over further, first off. I'm going to have to show this in easy stages because I've now clamped up all of the skin to the frame, and what I've commenced doing is I'm just folding over the edges, the sides and the bottom, just to clench it into position. Obviously the measurements are so critical. I've got the bottom lip hard against the bottom of the skin, and I've pulled that round now. Everything seems to fit just right. I have measured the old skin in relation to this one. Every measurement seems to be exactly the same, so I'm in the lap of the gods now as to whether it's all going to fit and fit back on the car correctly or not. But I'll have to sort of do this in small bursts so that you can see, because otherwise I'll be so long tapping around the edge here. I think I'd run out of film and it'd become a bit boring. So just for now, I've bent these over at 45 degrees and I will clench them down and see where we go from there. The secret with this, of course, is not to hurry. I've gone over at 45 degrees on 3 of the corners there, and now I'm just actually going to pinch this in just to stop the frame actually moving around inside the skin. So I'll pinch this down flat on all the rest of the sides here, and then I'll work my way around the remainder of the skin. Luckily, being aluminium, it doesn't take too much force, so it's just a matter of slowly catch your monkeys. That piece there is nice and tight, and I'm going to repeat that on the other edges now, and then I will work my way around, as we'll see in a few minutes. This particular skin seems to be very good. I just compared the old skin. The hardest part, I think, is going to be on these corners. That one's got quite a bit of spare material which is going to be folded over. So what I'm going to do is fold this edge over first off to pinch it all in, and then go back over to that side again and work on that edge. One of my biggest fears, of course, will be to start moving the actual frame around within the skin because of the amount of work going on in that corner. But I'm hoping, with the clamps everywhere, this corner being all in position and folded over nice and tight, pinching the frame into the skin, I'm hoping that this one's going to go over nicely. It's a nice round edge. I'll take my time. As I said a few minutes ago, aluminium is quite an easy material to work with as far as bending goes, but the big danger, of course, it's so easy to put a dent into it. So I'll be taking a great deal of care, and I'll come back in a minute and show you how it's gone. Okay, all the edges are folded up now, right the way around here. This was the hardest bit, but if you take your time, it will go round quite happily. I actually used on that little flat dolly and a little pick just to tap in there, just to finish that off neatly. And yeah, it's come up quite well. There's no sharp edges or anything like that. The whole flange has been folded over now, right the way round as far as here. I've still got the top of the door clamped at the moment, and I'll offer it up now to see what it fits like. Okay, I've reached the final part now, which is just on this top edge here. If I take the clamps all off, which I no longer actually need, This is the part which fits against the scuttle on the main bodywork. I've offered it up, but obviously it's got these flanges which are still unfortunately the battery ran out at a crucial stage there, but all the skin's fitted, as I've said. I've offered it back onto the car. It fits pretty good actually. I'm well impressed with it, and I'll show you that later on. The only problem is at the top of the door, where this part actually meets onto the scuttle, it's about 4 millimeters, say 4 millimeters too proud, so it stops the door from shutting. There's two ways of possibly doing it. The scuttle area on the MGA in this corner here is lead loaded, and they're lead loaded so that you can make that adjustment with the door. The alternative, I didn't want to go down that road just yet, the alternative is to just move this fold back about 4 millimeters, which is what I've now done. I've actually unbent it again, straightened it back up again, and I'm just cutting just down here, as you can see, just down this inside edge. I'm going to just remove this little piece of material of aluminium here to enable me then to fold all of this back over about 4 millimeters closer to the actual door frame. There's plenty of room on the door frame to do it. The actual frame itself, the lip of the frame, if I can fold it back to match the frame, it will be just about right. And I believe that if there is any discrepancy left there, I'll do that with lead loading on the actual car body scuttle itself and not to the door. But overall, the door skin is a very good fit. I'm very happy. It was the solution. I couldn't get rid of that metal of the other door skin, and this, although it's expensive for one, has been the answer really. Okay, I've cut the first bit of the material away here. What I've done is I've cut down here with a hacksaw, and then I've cut the top of this because it had a long, as you can see the length of this one, it had a long lip here. Now I looked at the original skin, and the original skin only had this very slight piece of aluminium which folded over at the top. It doesn't clamp onto anything, as you can see the door frame ends there. So I've cut a piece of that off here and then just refolded it back over there, which actually lines up with my line here. So I'm just looking at this piece here, whether there's too much material here, or it would be easier to cut some off or just fold it over. I'll take a measurement in a minute. This may not seem very scientific. What I'm looking to see is just how much of the actual frame there is. In the end, having folded this piece over here, I cut a little piece of material off the top of this edge, which actually stuck sort of almost up like that, and then refolded it back over again and straightened the edge up there. So that's now all squeezed onto there and onto there. Exactly the same as what the original panel was itself. The door's now been mounted back on the car, and just for initial sort of trials, I'll show you how it's actually gone together and what the fit's like. The door has now been hung back on. I'm quite happy with the fit of it. The wing itself on the back, obviously this can be moved forward and back. I'm reasonably happy with the gaps, top and bottom, and the front edge, the one that I said to you about just adjusting just now. If you can see here, it's got a reasonable gap here. If I go in very, very close, you can see that all of this part of the car body along the scuttle area, that is all actually lead. So it can actually be built up or cut down. So I will look at that when it's finally adjusted and just make sure that fits nicely there. As you can see, when the door opens and closes, and that is closed a little bit too far, because the actual, when it marries up with the back wing, that's where it will be. My door gaps along the front edge of the wing here, although a bit wide at the moment, I'm not too worried because I can move the entire front wing rearward a little bit by about 3mm, and that will close that gap up. That really about concludes it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this simple video of what I've done here. As I say, the door skin now is pretty near perfect. There's a few little undulations here on the top. Mainly to use a little bit of body filler just to get it right, but I think that's perfectly acceptable and quite normal. The actual fit of the door, I'm more than happy with. It's absolutely fine. The front wing that I put on here, the whole thing can come back a few millimeters, which will give you a nice even door gap down here. The back wing can come forward as well, but this gap is just about perfect here. And that part there, which is the most crucial part really, that's the hardest bit to adjust. If you've enjoyed watching this video, give me a like. Any questions, put it in the comments underneath and I'll see if I can answer them. I'm not an expert, I'm only a DIY restorer, but I've enjoyed doing this. I've not seen anything else on YouTube to explain how to reskin an MGA door, and hopefully this will help somebody else out like it. Well, as best I can. Thank you very much.